Gears of War 3 was developed by Epic Games. It released on the 20th of September 2011. It received the Ram Shadows DLC on the 13th of December 2011. The game has a total of 82 achievements. Seriously 3.0 and the Socialite achievement are unobtainable. So for the sake of this achievement hunt, we'll not be going for any of the Versus achievements. The way I'll be tackling these is to first complete the campaign in arcade mode on insane difficulty. By playing on arcade mode, we can get all the campaign achievements on one singular playthrough. This is because we can bypass the requirement of having to beat the game initially to unlock insane difficulty. I'll then do Ram Shadow DLC doing the same method. I'll then mop up some of the achievements on Horde mode and then Beast mode. And that should unlock all the achievements that we're going for. Gears of War 3 is a third-person cooperative shooter game that can be played with up to 4 players. The events of this game take place 18 months after Gears of War 2. If you want a breakdown of the story or achievements for that game, feel free to check it out from my Gears of War playlist. We continue our story with Marcus Phoenix and co. After sinking the last remaining human stronghold of Jacinto, the war is finally over. The COG disbanded after Chairman Prescott disappeared, which left the human race with nowhere to go. But after taking refuge on a remote island, an even tougher enemy appeared, the Lambent. Some people lived on the remaining ships, while others stayed back to fight. So with nowhere to go and 43 achievements up for grabs,
guess we're all stranded now.
the game starts off with Marcus having a bad dream, which was something very familiar from Gears of War 1.
No.
Jack, rip that door.
Instead of Dom being here, it's Anya, and she says that her father needs us, which is a surprise to Marcus because he's under the assumption that he's dead. But after following Anya, we find his dad.
Marcus, what in God's name are you doing here?
He's under attack and we need to defend him, and if we do this, we'll unlock our first achievement. Marcus is your father.
Later.
Let's go, boys! I'm just a standard little
I
cop
literally
soldier.
do not want to alt tab right now.
Marcus, it's your father! It turns out this was just a flashback about Marcus disobeying orders to save his father, which is how he ended up getting court-martialed and serving a life sentence in prison. It then snaps back to real time where we have to head to Control, but first, we have to collect Dom.
Come on, Dom. I think the radishes can cope without you for a
I
while.
mean,
We
he
have to
can
collect
if
the
he
rest of the
wanted
team,
to.
which includes Jace,
Nearly got it that time.
and our fourth and final member of the team, Anya. And with our fully assembled squad of dipshits, we can now play this game in 4-player co-op. And this will help us unlock 2 achievements, one for completing the game in co-op, and another for completing all the acts with 4 players. Massive shout out to the lads that helped me out with this grind, but it turns out we're called to Control because there's a Raven inbound, and it has a VIP guest.
Chairman Prescott.
Prescott.
Shit.
So we just have to make a safe journey to the helipad. Oh shit! It's like watching Benjamin all over again. Get him, boys! Ark's dead. Rest in peace. Now, a few things to note about arcade mode. When you die, you can actually be revived off a floor. Instead, you have to wait 30 seconds until you can respawn again. So as long as someone stays alive, we won't fail. And we can also work towards the achievement for completing 5 chapters in arcade mode. After clearing out the enemies that were jumping onto the ship, we raised this deck which would allow the Raven to arrive. Here he is.
Chairman Prescott, welcome to what's left of the COG.
I'll have answers for you, ladies and gentlemen. I need to see Colonel Hoffman immediately.
Hoffman's
Yeah.
been gone almost as long as you have.
He's dead?
He left to take a group of civilians to
Hoffman never dies.
Captain Mike, the
How
senior
dare you
officer
assume
now.
that?
Oh, and Sergeant Phoenix, you'll want to see this.
Now that we have this disc from Prescott, we have to get to Control so we can play it. So it's important we don't let anything distract us. Who wants chicken? Hello? Hello? The chicken! Oh shit! Look at that thing, man. Oh fuck! Help! Man, it needs nerfing. Please help me! Come on, we can be friends. We can talk about this. See? We're friendly, okay? We can be friends, right? Whoa! Fucking kill this chicken!
Mutate on that, you fuck!
Oh shit, we got a mission to do. With the last KFC of humanity now slaughtered, we got to the information center so we could now play this disc. And luckily, we have Anya here to solve the mystery.
Oh God. Marcus. It's your father.
Yeah, I noticed.
It turns out Marcus's dad is still alive and he's been held prisoner by the Locust. But most importantly, he's got a solution to the Lambert problem. Essentially, the whole planet of Sarah is dying as it's been infected by the emulsion. But before he tells us any more, it cuts off.
Damn machine. Baird's never here when you need him.
We have to rescue Prescott, who's under attack. Oh my god, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I forgot it's on insane difficulty. And after setting ourselves on fire one too many times, we eventually cleared his office. Prescott, our boy.
But when I get back, I want a nice long chat.
What?
Chat.
Now there is one funny thing about arcade mode,
something
and that's if you
from
die,
Superman,
the ragdoll
My Adventures with
animations are
Superman.
funny as hell.
Well,
Just got
to put this in this
After failing to
perspective,
protect the Raven, it turns out we're
there's
dealing with
a
something
character
much
that
more
grows
serious.
giant.
It's a tentacle.
It's
All that.
That's all I can say.
Back, tentacles. We don't like you.
And it's a
Head to
whammon
Philadelphia.
that
Shit,
grows.
and down here, some old familiar teammates got in touch with us.
We need to blow his brains out his head.
They've got a plan to deal with this Leviathan, but in order for it to work, we need to lure it to the front of a ship. And in order to do this, we're going to have to use the Silverback. And once we take down this Leviathan, this will unlock our next achievement. I'm in. Oh shit. Get off, you fucker. Oh shit, there's polyps. I'm getting messed up by these polyps. Okay, yeah. there's a silverback there, someone wants it. Oh, it's 1 second off. Unlucky, unlucky. Get off! Got it, nice, nice, nice. To your right, watch out. Ow. Please, I have a cat. Don't hurt me. Yeah, we've done it. Good shit. Bed's always the one that comes up with a plan, isn't he? Swimming in glowy gravy. We love gravy. Let's go. Another achievement. We now have a flashback from 1 hour earlier where basically we take over from Baird and Cole. It's basically from their perspective of what's just happened. So this means we're on a different team which contains Samantha, Carmine, Baird and Cole, and they're on the hunt for some supplies. This has taken them to Hanover, which is where Cole is from. Cole trains home, baby! We found some stranded, but given everything that's happened in the past, they have no intention of helping the cog. But they are open to negotiations.
I'll give you a side of bacon for her, though.
Bacon.
Hey, take the deal, Cole. I haven't had bacon in 6 months.
With no bacon for the boys, we head to another camp to potentially negotiate. But first, we have to cross this park. Oh shit. I actually remember this bit. I remember struggling on this part so bad. Okay, that is why it was hard as hell. I remember now. And struggle we did because holy shit was this hard. And despite absolute carnage kicking off, there was at least someone having a good time. Alright. Oh, cool. Help ball. That's what you get for playing around. Oh my god, what's going on? Oh, there's a wretch behind you, watch out. Just kicked our ass. We're all dead? Yeah, we died. Yeah, that's all Cole's fault. Fucking around on the slide. Oh my Cole, I swear to God, buddy. Cole! This is all your fault! I swear to Cole, you motherfucker. I love how Cole just has to, he just gets his own dedicated cutscene. If it was anyone else but Cole, I would be mad. After just about surviving unlike this person, we fought our way further through this store, let Cole grab a brand new hat, and then we got some motivation from Cole himself. You can just spam that. We're also going for all the collectible achievements, and these include the collectibles themselves and the cog tag. We cleared this path that was blocked with this loader, and we actually managed to find some food supplies. So all we have to do is clear the outside so that the ravens can pick us up, and by doing this, we can unlock our next achievement. Get them, boys! Ow, 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 ow. The boys are covering us. Okay, nice. Pew pew! Good shit, lads. We struck gold, son! Well, there I am, my rightful place at the bottom of the leaderboards. Proud of that. Hard work, you know. Now, in my defense, being bottom of the leaderboard is expected, because whoever's playing as Samantha has the worst loadout ever. While everyone else has the powerful and highly prestigious Lancer, Samantha gets a single-shot hammer burst and a long shot which I can't use for shit. The next chapter, we went to help the stranded who were under attack, and lucky for them, reinforcements are here, and nothing can stop us. It's just... Well, the enemies on this chapter were quite tougher than the previous ones. You've got this weird dredge thing that one-shots you. Oh, he got a triple kill. Oh, he just quadra-killed us. He's gonna tell all his friends about that. We're getting put in a YouTube montage. Gunker 1v4 streamer and friends. Then you've got this fucking snake that is literally a flamethrower. Cole, no! Oh shit, what the fuck? Wow. Okay, it's a snake with a fucking flamethrower. What is this shit? We cleared out the enemies, and just like every Carmine before, it's time for this one to die.
Jeez Louise, what the fuck?
Can't Carmine the Carmine.
What?
Thankfully, due to Carmine's life insurance policy, he got an
What about
upgraded
Trump?
helmet. We moved on towards the Cougars Stadium, and as we continued our hunt for supplies, this led to another fight. Oh shit. Goddamn tentacles are tormenting us. But finally, there was one handy thing about playing as Samantha, and that is that she's got smoke grenades instead of frag grenades. Don't worry, I will smoke the tentacles for some reason. Okay, the tentacles can't see. There's a gunker. Shit.
You want my autograph, bitches?
Cole, no! Look. Even when he's dead, he's got aura. Look at him. We got to the stadium, but we had no way of getting inside due to the advancement of the shining padlock.
Hey, Bear, got any wire cutters?
And thankfully, because Samantha took control, this unlocked our next achievement for finishing the chapter. Welcome to arcade mode. We got inside the stadium where Cole is still regarded as a god. No one would ever disrespect the Cole train. The stadium is under attack, and before we can talk to the boss about trading, we need to clear them out. But this is Cole's time to shine as he enters some kind of trance, and by doing this, we unlock the achievement for escaping the stadium. The Cole train, baby! Why is he number 83? Does anyone know? Come here, fool! Go, Cole, go! It's like watching a Resident Evil movie. Everything's slow motion. Go, Moody, go! Dodges one. Makes that dude look like a bitch. Let's go!
Train still got the moves, baby.
Well then, Cole, we'll let you off with that whole slide incident, okay? Matt Turf, Cougars territory. Ended and escaped Cougars Stadium. Let's go. We escaped the stadium and we used these hooks to cross over to the bridge. The cap's gone. This is where we spot the Sovereign ship, which is what Marcus and Dom are on, which at this point is being attacked by the Leviathan. We found this Retro Lancer, so now we just have to push our way across. I've got style, people, don't worry. Now this is the part where they came up with a plan to use the tickers to blow up the Leviathan. So after taking out the mortar squad, we released this ticker cage. And this unlocked our next achievement. Putting it scientifically. Now we all know what happened when the tickers fell on the Leviathan, but the collateral damage sent the bridge flying down with us on it.
I suppose you want me to say I've always loved you, but I don't. I really, really don't.
After just about surviving, we found Marcus and Dom. The boys! We have to get to Prescott's location first, but we don't have the luxury of time since there's a massive horde on their way. Oink! But I was locked in and I was ready to kick some ass. I'm not saying that wasn't bullshit, but I'm just saying I don't think there was anything I could do to outplay that. And although I was dying left, right, and center from these bullshit diggers, I wasn't the only one getting their ass handed to them. Marcus, come on, get up. Come on. Oh my god, what's happening? Come on, Marcus, walk it off. You're okay. You got places to be, okay? What with the fuck? Marcus, come on. Cole's eating some rock. We managed to fight our way across to these catapults so we could use their own weapons against them. Boom! It was all
What
me.
skin?
Redeemed myself, people, don't worry. And once we got to Prescott, he wasn't looking too good. Oh, he's fucked up. He's fucked up. Nah, he's alright. He can walk it off.
One lung's collapsed, his chest cavity's filling up.
Okay.
It's probably a
he's
fox female, I'm assuming the way you describe it.
Sparkling. Prescott told us that Marcus's dad is captured and held hostage by Queen Mirror. He's in a research facility called Zehrys, and we can find out exactly where it is by using this disc.
I know that game. Forgot what it's called.
Furious.
Okami, there we go. Yeah, it's Okami.
Rip legend. But with Prescott now brown bread, we have to work out who has the other
I
half
should
of the
really
encryption.
switch over to PC so I can do the mods.
But we don't have time to talk because shit is going down.
But
Interrupt people, but we got visitors.
Let's go! It's always
I mean,
one of these.
yeah, I don't mind
And
doing
what
that,
you
but
learn here,
goddamn,
the
some of
audio
those
is so
are
fuzzy. For some
way
reason, the
too
Brewmax
much.
distorts all the audio, but on the plus side, if we kill it, we unlock
The
our next
boss
achievement
that
for
I've
finishing the
seen
chapter.
from Mario Rivals, let's just say
Oh,
Echoes.
shit, Marcus.
There's a not safe for
Marcus got
work one,
fucked
but
up.
there's like,
I'm just going to
yeah,
assume I shoot its head.
I have seen Ultron like straight
the
up
audio's awful.
fucking thick.
It's like all fuzzy.
To the point he's literally a blob on screen. If you have that mod enabled and someone in your team uses Ultron, get ready to see Ultron super ultra wide thick, just covering your entire screen because that guy will not move away. You cannot see shit. It's funny, but also it kind of ruins the game because you can't see shit.
My ears. That's literally how my ears feel right now. Oh, thank God. Our audio has been saved. Okay, now we find Hoffman. Hoffman is at Anvil Gate, and with no way to get there, we have to come up with a plan.
There's our ride.
So it's decided we're going to steal one of these barges so we can get an express ticket there. So first, that means we just have to make our peaceful journey over there. Cole, no!
Oh, dude, there's so
Get
many
voice.
mods I really want to
After
use,
dealing
like
with a baby
where
corpse
it's
problem,
like
we have
not
to
super
deal with
like
a new
not safe
enemy.
work and all stuff, but just
Fuck
like
off. And
this
now that we
character
have a power
playing as
weapon,
that
we can deal with
character.
this ambush easily.
Like Death the Wolf as Moon Knight, that was cool. I don't really play this character, but yet. But
it's my
Invisigirl as Luna. Oh, Luna werewolf.
I'm not using cleaver, it's fucking shit. We got to this part where we had to head through this cave, but little did we know we were walking into a death trap.
Another for shits and giggles. Flamboyant
I don't know
as
if you agree,
Johnny.
but pretty much
That shit
every
was
corpse
funny.
fight is the exact same on all the Gears of War games. It might look badass, but they really do suck. They kind of just
He's
stand
from
there doing
Fantastic
nothing
Four.
more
I
than
just
disposable parts,
I just
and
know
you
him by his
just
real
pick
name.
at
I don't
it
know
until
his
eventually it
actual
dies. But at least on this one, there is some other things that can
Marvel
kill it.
name.
Oh my god, I didn't even say that one.
Oh, he's Fantastic Four, basically just flame guy.
Nice. Whoa. What the f- What'd you even do? Oh, we have to leave, okay. Leave me behind, people. It's okay.
Yeah, flamboyant. They literally created a mod with him, replaced Johnny with flamboyant.
It's the Queen
Which
Bee.
it
Marcus
actually
was under the
fits
impression
so
Queen
well.
Mirror was dead after the flood from Gears of War 2.
Luna Snow, since she's all about
The Queen
K-pop and
pieces
all that
out and she
stuff,
leaves us with these
with
weird chicken nugget things that have Gatling
Prism.
guns,
I
but
think
she
that was
also
her
leaves
name.
us with the most annoying enemy on insane difficulty,
It
followed by
fits so damn well with those characters. Like, wow.
Apparently someone likes blueberry jam. We were dying here a lot, and this part was actually very hard. There was a lot of cover,
but you bled for it.
You can get shot from every single angle, and the damage
that
can
demon chick, I forgot her name, Melavana, whatever her name is. Yeah, replace Magica with her. And like I said, it fits so fucking well.
I have feelings, you know. And then to add to our misery, the Theron guards just decided to have boom shots. Yeah, I'm back, ready to rock.
Still pending.
Oh my God, Jesus Christ. But after trading deaths over and over, we eventually made it, and now we finally conquered this barge, unlocking our next achievement. We fly. Oh yeah, it's pirate time. While riding the barge, we bumped into Dizzy, so we quickly did this section where we saved him. God, that rocket was so close. What spawn is that? Like, seriously, come on. That is not on me. It literally spawned me on it. I actually want compensation for that. I should be sued for damages. After rescuing Dizzy, he joined us on the journey to Anvil Gate. Ah, the bumblebee is here. And the queen bitch. Literally, there's no chance, surely. Like, why me? Like, out of everyone, come on. There's literally people on turrets facing him. And he's like, nah, man, I'm gonna shoot you at the back. He's just minding his own business.
That beetle of hers must be turbocharged. She's too fast to target.
Never. I will hit it.
Nope. You get the feeling she's just sticking with us?
Goodbye, world. But after she drives by some of my teammates with a bumblebee laser cannon thing majiggy, she eventually shot us out of the sky, and this unlocked our next achievement for completing the chapter. Thanks to flying Gasbag Airways.
Okay.
That wasn't too bad to see. All I had to do was die many times. You gotta admire their ability to survive it.
To break. This isn't the end to the trilogy. It feels like a new beginning that was snuffed out. Let's start first with the looks, because it's more than the fidelity Shadow is known for. While yes, the sights are breathtaking even 8 years out, and the technology is still impressive, like the way characters' throats are animated to give each anxious swallowing of pride and held back tear even more weight, what Shadow excels at most is how it shows us Lara. And considerable care must be placed on how Lara is shown, because what the game tells us is often conflicting. Lara this time around showcases a newfound mastery of the wilderness. I found her gasping at the environment less, as though she is no longer caught off guard. And I think even her starting gear represents a Lara that is no longer entering the Siberian wilderness without a lighter. Her outfit is more tactical, and even her attitude struck me as more prepared. If we briefly look back to Rise of the Tomb Raider, we can see that Lara views herself as a survivor. Someone capable of making it through impossible situations by mere determination. In Shadow, Lara is presented to us as an apex predator. I'd like to examine an early game scene where Lara is faced with a jaguar. It's a tutorial for hunting, and notable specifically because she is without her gear. When the jaguar makes itself known, Lara gives us this excellent deep breath, as though she is actively reaching within herself to spotlight the hunter inside. Her shadow self then rises, and she gets angry, now determined not to survive the jaguar, but to conquer it. I believe this dynamic between the innocent archaeologist Lara Croft and the apex predator within her is why the game is called Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Lara is the Tomb Raider, but her time in Siberia and Yamatai have woken up a part of her that once lay dormant.
Our friends at Red Magic are back again, this time sponsoring this video with their Red Magic 11 Air. This is the thinner, sleeker sister of the Red Magic 11 Pro. Still sporting some insane specs with a Snapdragon 8 Elite and up to 16 gigabytes of RAM, this phone is going to be your ultimate on-the-go gaming device. And what better way to show it off than by looking at the newly released mobile port of 2013's Tomb Raider. Once again, we have an insane 144Hz screen at 1.5K, and I can confidently say that it beats out my daily driver all the time. Okay, this camera's only capturing 60 frames per second, but this is running at 140. This is nuts. She's gonna go, Jonah! Jonah! This genuinely looks and runs better than it did on PS3. If the phone is firing on all cylinders during gameplay, then the advanced vapor chamber and fan keep things cool the entire time. Fortunately, despite being such a thin phone, the battery lasts all day, no problem. And it also has quick charging capabilities. It's not just for gaming either, as you still get regular phone capabilities on here, like scrolling shorts and taking phone calls. Bro, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Okay, I'll call you back. They canceled Bluey. If you guys want to check out the Red Magic 11 Air or the Red Magic 11 Pro, then you can find the links in the pinned comment and the description. And thank you once again to Red Magic for sponsoring this portion of the video. And Happy Lunar New Year.
In psychology, the shadow self, coined by Carl Jung, is essentially one's subconscious. At times depicted as a counter to the conscious, it can represent the parts of yourself that you wish to repress, like fears, desires, or character traits, and often you aren't totally aware of it. I believe that part of Lara's journey in Yamatai was unlocking her true survival instincts, a shadow self that she was somewhat afraid of and didn't know about. For as much as the game likes to say that a survivor was born by the end of that game, I think more accurately, a monster was born. And what she became after the events of that game was why, in Rise, we saw Lara seeking more thrills and putting herself in extreme situations. Her shadow self was woken up and wanted to hunt, all under the guise of being that tomb raider. Entering the Siberian wilds without tools wasn't simply an act of stupidity, it was her shadow self putting her in a position where her conscious mind must defend herself. In a way, Lara being so prepared in shadow and taking a more aggressive approach is accepting that part of herself. But again, this is all subtext, otherwise things I am gleaning from the game due to certain design decisions. I think the biggest indicators of this personality shift from Lara come from the way she looks. When entering stealth, we have the option to cover ourselves in dirt to better hide from the enemies. She now dons a mud-clad armor and even outside of stealth, constantly has dirt on her face, resembling the scales of a cold-blooded reptile. Trinity has more than a woman to deal with now. They have bushes with eyes, sharks in the water, and jaguars in the trees. Lara no longer wields weapons. She is the weapon. But of course, there are still points where that shadow self is suppressed. Early on, Lara is shown to be following the trail of Trinity and finding non-lethal ways of tailing them for information, even donning a mask to blend in more. However, once she needs to confront them, the mask is dropped, I believe symbolizing her shift towards that hunter persona. Lara's looks are generally the same this time around, which works both for and against her. When it comes to sequels, it's important to not make the character move or look too different, because at some point, players will feel as though they are different. However, I think Lara's movement, specifically her climb-up animation, is too inexperienced for someone of her caliber, especially when her arsenal includes two bulging biceps under some fucking boulder shoulders, something the game is intent on showing off given her preference for tank tops this time around. But muscle is only one part of the equation here, so how's mommy? Well, I'd say my crush on Survivor Lara is as big as ever. Half the time in cutscenes I was fidgeting with my wedding ring, and as far as surface level attractiveness goes, Lara might as well be an Australian waitress with how much she's serving cunt. And speaking of cunts, Trinity sees some upgrades this time around too. They are much more militarized than before, though it seems they have hired some of the locals to do their dirty work too. This offers a unique gameplay dynamic where some foes are positioned as predators and some as prey. The usual goons can be stalked endlessly, will never notice you, and even if they do, don't stand a chance. In these cases, you are the predator, more often than not playing with your food. Higher ranking Trinity agents will have infrared goggles, better armor, and stronger weapons, often with better perception to boot. This class is more rare, but it does briefly put Lara in a prey scenario, where she isn't stalking her enemies per se, but instead actively hiding from them. I think this dynamic is most signified by the typical response to engagement. When spotted by weaker enemies, my gut reaction was to whip out my weapon and continue the encounter in open combat. Against the more difficult enemies, my instinct was to scramble away and re-enter stealth as soon as possible. You'll notice there isn't much variety in the combat clips shown, and this is because the game focuses far more on stealth and exploration, which is a welcome change, and the environments support a synergy between the player and Lara. Lara is, as mentioned, a seasoned raider, and isn't so easily scared by life or death scenarios. Because of this, she is more willing to explore, see what's behind that brick wall, explore a tomb, tomb, maybe even raid the treasures within.
Don't worry,
The reason
I
players
will,
more
I
easily
will.
align with these moments is that Shadow of the Tomb Raider is more comfortable presenting jaw-dropping beauty. It's hard to feel a sense of danger when the environments are bursting with this much color and when the sights are this wallpaper worthy. This technique was used conversely in Rise of the Tomb Raider in the Siberian wilds. Often the weather was oppressive, the cold, harsh environments instilled a different kind of exploration for the sake of survival, hoping that behind a wall was a campsite or some kind of resource. In Shadow, I was exploring instead to simply see what was there. Danger wasn't present in my mind because often Lara was the danger. One of the game's major themes, however, is Lara having to come to terms with the fact that while she is powerful enough to have whatever she wants, that does not entitle her to use the world as collateral. In Mexico, the game's opening, Lara is attempting to be a gnarly thorn in Trinity's side as they search for a dagger and a box capable of giving them immense power. Lara gets to the dagger first and sees a mural that warns her of what is essentially an apocalypse that would be brought on by anyone who takes the dagger. Unable to keep herself away from it, she grabs the dagger, immediately loses it to Trinity, and then has to escape the ensuing tsunami that kills presumably hundreds. Instantly, we have Lara coming to grips with what her fight against Trinity will cost, and this even strains her big brother-esque relationship with Jonah, who is floored at the idea of Lara abandoning Cozumel to instead chase after the dagger. As far as set pieces go, this opening is fantastic, and the following crash in Peru gives a reasonable excuse for Lara not having all of her tools right away. Only problem is that there are only so many times Lara can crash land in an area, scream for Jonah, and lose her tools. Fortunately, the game doesn't dwell on the reacquisition of her gear for long, and I think this brief moment of vulnerability teaches players the importance of foraging, but it definitely didn't feel new, and this is a common criticism with Shadow. As mentioned, this game did not present very much that is new, and my problem with this is not within the gameplay, because with this being the third entry, there's only so much sanding you can do to smooth out a wheel, and I prefer Eidos Montreal not try to reinvent it, but within the story and general level design, there's a severe lack of risk, and a more severe presence of repetition. For the third game now, we crash land without our tools, forced to survive against one of the location's predators. In Rise, it was a bear, now it's a jaguar. For the third game, we are racing Trinity to an artifact. For the third game, we are shown an arc where Lara ends the game as the Tomb Raider she is quote-unquote meant to be. And for the third game, we are given the same gameplay loop of linear paths containing combat that eventually lead to forks in the road, with one side leading to the next area and another leading to a crypt or tomb. The kicker here is that it's not always done better than it was last time. It's important to note that Tomb Raider 2013 and Rise of the Tomb Raider was developed by Square Enix and saw Eidos Montreal in a supportive role. This time, the roles of the two entities are reversed because Square Enix had bigger fish to fry, notably the Avengers video game, and yep, they definitely fried that one. I think this is a large reason why the game feels rather formulaic at times and why it even suffers growing pains. I liked most of the set pieces in this game, but on each occasion you're not allowed to sprint and can only jog. What's worse is that Lara is given a strangely timed scrambling animation to make it look like she's running for her life, when in reality it just looks like she's poorly acting in an Indiana Jones spin-off film. I think this shift in development teams is why few risks were taken, as we saw similar issues with Batman Arkham Origins, a game that was developed by Warner Bros. Montreal instead of the usual developers at Rocksteady. Anti-French Canadian propaganda aside, I still think the game makes interesting strides where necessary, specifically when it comes to listening to fans. However, that's always easier said than done. I say listening to fans is somewhat difficult for a few reasons. Let's first clarify that satisfying fans, your buyers, your audience, is always good in an ideal world, but we don't live in an ideal world. So let's go through some issues that come from listening to fans. The first biggest issue is that people don't always know how to communicate what they want. When we see discussions online about things like writing, poor writing is often described through broad terms like cringe, or if you've had the displeasure of being on Twitter as of late, it's described as a Focus M game. I won't bother explaining what terms like that mean, even the people who attribute it to many things they dislike don't know what it means, but the point is that most people are not born with my strain of neurodivergence and enjoy making long-form videos unpacking what they like and dislike about a game and why. So plenty of information gets lost in the communication. The next problem is what if the fans are wrong? I know this seems like a hostile thing to say, but the reality is, you can't please everyone, and if you listen to one fan, you're bound to disappoint two others. For example, one of my recent videos was a ranking of the Assassin's Creed games, and it resulted in many people who disliked where I ranked certain games. By their view, I, the fan, is absurdly incorrect about what the games are good at or where the series should go. Alternatively, someone else who agreed with my opinions might say that the developers should listen to fans, aka me. So if you are a developer, then who should you listen to? Well, the chances are they'll listen to the money, which is all the client cares about, and consistency is key in this market. But that didn't stop Eidos from making an effort to please the older fans. Plenty of outfits are either ripped directly from the older games or are paying homage to said games. Plenty of Easter eggs reference the older titles too, and I believe this is done out of love. I mean, chances are the team working on this game just might like the Tomb Raider series. But what their attempts at paying homage also do is present Lara as someone turning into the Tomb Raider she is again, quote unquote, meant to be, and that can really interfere with her characterization and honestly come across as Eidos and Square Enix being insecure about their version of Lara Croft due to some of the heavy criticisms it's received from fans of the previous games. I'm comfortable saying I'm reading too far into this, but I believe there is a strange push and pull between wanting Lara to be her own character and wanting her to be like the classic Lara Croft. One side of me thinks, well, this is Tomb Raider after all, why would we reinvent the wheel? But the other side of me rebuts with, well then what's the point of rebooting a series, and more importantly, I like this new Lara. Eidos Montreal's answer is to find some kind of middle ground, and while I would say this never works, I'll admit it worked reasonably well here. Unlike the previous games, Shadow of the Tomb Raider takes a considerable step back from the constant action, especially after its intense opening in Mexico. Puzzles are at the forefront this time, which is great. I love the puzzles in Rise. And the other added benefit is pacing. One of the most important lessons I've learned from some great developers is that sometimes less truly is more. I often think of an anecdote shared by Ryan Payton regarding his work on Iron Man VR. Initially for the PlayStation VR, pacing and repetition was a considerable concern. When porting that game to the Meta Quest, Camouflage decided to cut some of the combat encounters outright, and it resulted in the game getting a significantly higher score from critics. This philosophy can be applied here too, especially when the game features replayable challenge tombs. I can understand frustration with combat, especially when it's almost entirely unchanged from Rise of the Tomb Raider, but I think the negatives are outweighed here. Unfortunately, the puzzles are generally unchanged too. I say unfortunately because while the puzzles in Rise were decent enough, they needed to be much better, and I think the puzzles here suffer from being not just too easy, but too susceptible to brute force. Now, I'm not saying every puzzle needs to have me racking my brain for minutes on end, but I think issues here stem from the tools the game gives you, and the lack of interaction. Let's start with the Survivor Sense. Initially, I felt that Survivor Sense, which highlights the objects you can interact with, was a poor way of showing the game's hand, but no, it instead skips the tedium of discerning what pieces are part of the puzzle and what are part of the set dressing. Instead, I think the issue is that many times, the puzzle can be solved by simply interacting with the puzzle elements until the solution aligns, without much thought. When opening a large door, we need to figure out what symbols go in what order, but the problem is that Lara will always automatically stop when the correct answer is given. So if you just keep spinning the stick, you'll get there. This door is meant to hold an ancient box capable of making someone a god, and yet a monkey could figure this out. There are still some good puzzles here, especially those featured in the side tombs. To preface, I think a puzzle's quality is indicative of the information it asks you to consult, the ability to use trial and error, and its protection against brute force. In one tomb, I needed to open windows to remove fire, but then there was debris blocking my way. I couldn't figure out how to move that debris until I realized that while the window was open, a lantern would swing forward. If pulling that lantern, it would then swing back into the debris, clearing it. This relied on me utilizing the toolkit the game had already given me and finding ways of combining those tools. Another good one is near the end of the game where you need to find out the correct mural. There are 3 choices which might indicate brute forcing as an option, but once solving the first side, there is another, and each failure means death and restarting. It meant that I was encouraged to actually understand what I was doing and make educated guesses, which I admittedly failed at more than I'd like to.
Shut up!
If I had to rank
I stopped doing that! Sometimes I I
had
still
the
do
best
it, but
puzzles,
you know,
especially
there's
considering
loads
the
of
environment
words I
outside.
don't
Things
want to
often feel like
read.
much more than a small path we go down, typically underwater, and the room containing the puzzle always felt rather small.
Oh.
Maybe this is a point for realism, but nah, I doubt it. I don't intend to focus so much on puzzles. I only do so because that's where
I don't
most
understand
of
the
the new
story
gameplay
if it
is.
got
Sure,
moving
we have
pictures.
some new combat encounters, stealth, and some set pieces, but they always struck me as the same formula with a different setting. Gunplay is still good, stealth is still good, and the addition of mud feels like aura armor. But given how sparse it was, I always found myself excited to engage in combat, like I was finally able to tap
me
into
and Doc
Lara's
can
dark
watch a
side.
drama
This
show
may be a stretch,
and
but I think
still
another
understand the
reason why
full
the combat
story.
was stripped back
Because
this
why
time
it was
around
interesting.
to create a thematic
When has a
parallel
tutorial
between
ever
Lara
been
and the
super
player. I got
interesting?
this feeling while playing the game that while I enjoyed solving the mysteries, I was itching to get back to
Exactly.
the power fantasy. I knew what Lara, my avatar, was capable of, and wanted to exert that power over Trinity. And I think Lara too feels that way. This is why she covers herself in mud when entering combat. It's like donning the mask of her true self. I mean, the game is called Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Our character is often seen only in a silhouette, and if continuing the psychological themes present in Rise, the shadow self plays a minor role here. There is a bit of a problem with this theory, which is what the story actually says.
This is why you eat one at a time!
If considering what the story says, then I believe the shadow the game
No.
is referring to is the shade cast by Lara's
Just
actions.
eat one
Her
at a
actions
time.
consistently lead to other people's demise.
You
and this sparks a
literally
lot of
proving
reflection
my
for her
point.
Because her goals this whole time have been to stop Trinity, who is using the power these mysteries hide to cause harm. Now, it's not even the usual counterpoint villain's pose saying, "Look how many people you killed." It's, "Look how many innocents
I've done that
you
before,
killed."
and I've done that before, and
and
my hands were clean!
These people, and her insistence that throwing herself into these mysteries will help is a solid narrative continuation of Rise, as a game that saw her chasing Trinity as a way of dealing with her trauma. I think this is communicated well when in the plane with Jonah. He is still hung up on the presumably hundreds, if not thousands, that died, and Lara is using the mystery to put it behind her. It's here
gotta
that the plane
be.
crashes, and we get the tutorialization of jungle combat. Once reuniting with Jonah, we make it to the town of
Which ones are you referring? Which one are you referring to? The ones that live in Mexico or the ones that are here in America? No.
Kawaka 2 contains multiple fetch quests, some minor interesting dialogue, and more often than not, nothing of interest. Maybe this is a me problem, but it discouraged me from exploring other areas of the game, especially when the most impactful things like tombs and crypts notify you when there is one nearby, allowing me to never miss it. This makes the side quests feel like they are hidden for a reason, and maybe they should be. The first issue is the
yeah, it's basically
stiff cutscenes and voice acting, which is so strange because every other scene in the game is top notch.
Lara.
Ponchos make me look cool, especially the ones with the hoodie.
The executive lead tormentor in charge of theft and pillaging. He's in there.
Yeah,
Fidelity
the ones with the
isn't
hood,
everything,
the
but
hood
Shadow
poncho.
of the Tomb Raider in most instances doesn't age. Here, it felt like I was playing a side quest in a modern Assassin's Creed title. There are further issues on top of that, like lines being completely out of sync and the camera angles cutting at awkward times. Side content was never the thing I looked forward to most in these games, I'll admit that, but this was a large step down from Rise.
I needed an image. I need an image for this because it means something for you differently, and we're picturing something else.
Lara and Trinity are the stars of the show in these games, and the setting, the cultures, the people are all left to the shadow cast from the spotlight shown on the Tomb Raider. The people of Kawakya 2 were given plenty of job opportunities when Trinity came searching for the key, but when they left, the people and the town were left in ruins. Trinity, like many of the vampiric forces of history, came to a land feigned helping its people, but in reality sucked the land dry and left its indigenous population to pick up the pieces. It's an interesting angle to take, but the game leaves a lot of this to the sidelines. They also immediately undercut their critique by having Lara, moments after, break multiple murals in a sacred temple in search of beating Trinity. She has conversations sympathizing about the role of Trinity destroying these cultures, and then she herself is quite literally destroying cultural history, and is all justified by the fact that she retroactively is correct in her assumptions that something is behind these murals. Regardless of the criticisms, I was genuinely in love with the first portion of this game. I've been glossing over a lot of the positives thus far, and it's mostly because the positives are unchanged from Rise of the Tomb Raider, and I've already discussed it in that game. I knew this game was polarizing going into it, and I remember frequently asking myself, how could people hate this game? By the time I got to the hidden city, Paititi, I thought to myself, oh, This is how.
That's not even
the story presented.
That's not
here
even
is
a poncho. The
necessarily
poncho
bad.
is only
And
for the
actually,
chest
upon
and
first
chest
arrival,
down.
I
It
was
looks like a
interested, But
pajamas.
the pacing is so slow that I found myself getting bored. The biggest concern is that we don't have a reason to care much for the people here. Unuratu and her son are mildly interesting, but the village itself is rather lifeless.
Okay,
Paititi
the
is
poncho with a
hidden city,
hoodie
and
is
yet it struck
basically
me as the
that
flames
Halo
collapsed.
5
It's large,
marketing
but
with
not
Master
in any way
Chief
that
and the
enhances
poncho
the
hoodie.
movement. Instead,
That's
having
basically
me
a
running up
poncho
and
hood
down
right
different
there.
paths and staircases, unlike some of the open areas seen in Rise. Couple this with side quests that were at their most uninteresting, and we have a second act slog that doesn't begin picking up until Unuratu is captured and we need to rescue her. In Paititi, it's shown that Trinity has its claws deep within the city's politics, and are ever closer to finding the box and bringing about the apocalypse. We also learn that Dr. Dominguez, the head of the Trinity-based cult in Paititi, is actually named Amaru, and is Unuratu's brother-in-law. I know I haven't mentioned Amaru up to this point, and it's largely because the game doesn't either. Shadow is a personal game, the focus is on Lara, but that doesn't mean the antagonist has to be the equivalent of a 2x4. The game even tries to give him more stakes by revealing that he was the one who ordered the hit on Lara's father, specifically so that he wouldn't uncover Paititi and expose it to the rest of the world. Maybe I'm heartless, but I struggled to feel much about this reveal because I hardly know who Lara's father is, only that she cared for him, and I know the same about Dominguez, which is nothing. We have to make sure that Unuratu gets the box because she is trained to handle its temptation. It's said that the power of the box, paired with the dagger from Mexico, will grant the holder unspeakable power and allow them to remake the world however they see fit. Vague enough for us to not want Trinity to have it, but for Unuratu, she needs to use the box to save Paititi, and has trained herself for years to resist the urge to instead use the box for more selfish desires. This is partially why Lara was so enamored by the dagger, taking it without thinking, because it has a genuine supernatural hold over those who desire and possess it. In the midst of breaking Unuratu out of prison, she discovers a race of humanoid monsters that live within Paititi and are guardians of the box.
I can no longer enjoy his hairy pits now that he's
almost
all
able to
hard and
escape,
shit.
box in hand, but Unuratu is killed, and we're forced to concede the box. Unfortunately, we can meet Jonah, but not before a helicopter guns the two down, and Lara is left at rock bottom. No box, no tools, no Unuratu, and an assumedly dead Jonah. With nothing left, her anger begins to consume her. This is the biggest case for the shadow self being Lara's alter ego. She sheds her mask, and without Jonah being able to ground her, she turns into a pure silhouette. Even her ponytail is down when covered in mud, as though she truly has lost everything holding her back. Jonah throughout the story is Lara's anchor, and I think that's why they have become so close. She needs him. When Lara inadvertently slaughters Cozumel, her instinct is to chase after Trinity, leaving the survivors to pick up the pieces. And it's Jonah that gives her a reality check.
Words. You always have something to say, Kill. You always have something to say.
And nothing is more dangerous than someone with nothing left to lose. This might be my favorite moment in the game, because it finally releases the tension that the player has been feeling the whole journey. Throughout the entire game, I knew what Lara was capable of, and while I enjoyed the puzzles and exploration, I yearned for the moment where Lara can start exerting power. We get snippets, sparse stealth, and combat segments, but those were appetizers, and now we can feast. Initially, we're given only a knife, which offers a unique challenge, but when we finally do get some weapons, it's a bloodbath. It's important to note that this is a rare instance where Lara is committing violence for the sake of revenge and anger. I felt a similar sentiment in the first game. Lara, throughout most of her journey in Yamatai, is fighting in self-defense. But there comes a moment where she begins yelling at the cultists to run for their lives, near reveling in that power. Lara is able to drive fear into people who outnumber her by the hundreds, and she's even able to take down a helicopter before passing out. And when she wakes up, oh, hey Jonah, my bad, I thought the story might have some balls. The story starts wrapping up quickly past this point. We regroup in Paititi and give final chase after Trinity to stop Dominguez from completing the ritual, though we fail. And we have a horrendous boss fight against him too. Don't get me wrong, it's not as bad as Rise, but I wonder why these moments couldn't lean more into being a set piece or presenting some kind of puzzle. A pure combat fight fails for a few reasons. One, the combat isn't very deep, so it's hard to present much that we haven't already seen before. And two, the combat hasn't changed since the last game, so there's nothing to test us on. The test is essentially, can you hit the large glowing target? And yeah, I can. Fortunately, this is overshadowed by Lara's victory, which sees her absorbing the power of the box and the dagger, and being tempted to recreate the world and bring back her parents, but choosing instead to stop the apocalypse. This scene is paced strangely, as it's not clear if Lara is
we
being
don't really have
metaphorically
that
stabbed
nowadays,
or literally
dynamic
stabbed,
music anymore,
and either
do we?
way, after a few days, she is back in Paititi, where she plans to spend the rest of her time building it back up and helping it prosper. A post-credits scene then shows where Lara is after the events of the game, which is a new headspace. She says that instead of trying to solve the world's mysteries, she intends to protect them, which would be a fantastic ending to her arc if that arc existed. Lara throughout Shadow has an interesting arc if we consider the subtext. She begins looking for excuses to have a power trip, but not considering the impact those trips have. What I like about Shadow's story is that it doesn't entirely fall into the trap of simply asking how many people have you killed. Sure, a villain does say those exact words, but most of the story's themes showcase the innocents killed in Lara's wake, when often the only consideration is given to the antagonist she kills, mostly in self-defense. It's a solid argument, especially when I think about games like Uncharted, where Nathan Drake enters places like Shambhala and completely destroys it and its ancient race in pursuit of a treasure. The idea that she needs to protect these mysteries instead of keeping them for herself is pretty cool, even if it runs a bit antithetical to the idea of tomb raiding. It also positions Lara as a mystery in herself, as if acting as a warning to the trinities of the world. If you try to take what's not yours, then Croft, the Baba Yaga, will find you and hunt you down. The problem I have with this arc is that, as mentioned in the beginning of this video, it feels as though her character is being pulled in two directions. This was present even in the first game with the introduction of dual-wielding pistols during the ending. It was a nod to the originals that implied Lara was going to turn into who she used to be in those original interpretations. Obviously, in hindsight, this was not the case, but it's not unfair to assume that this was where Square Enix was going, presenting this reboot as not a different interpretation,
I
but
heard
as
one
an
of the
origin
Splinter
story.
Cells was
Because of this, I find myself getting annoyed when the ending shows Winston at the manor and Lara pretending as though she is, as the developers put it, the Tomb Raider she was always meant to be. This isn't the old Tomb Raider, and it doesn't need to be. I love both equally, but if it was, then those dual-wielding pistols would be more than homages. Adding the akimbo pistols as a weapon wouldn't be hard, but Square
the
Enix
robot
specifically chose
soundtrack when
to
you
stick
first
with the bow and the
enter that
pickaxe
area to
as
save
Lara's
Roland.
defining
It has
weapon in the Survivor
such a
trilogy.
cool
I believe Square Enix's intent with all of this
which I realize that not many developers out there have a specific soundtrack for those types of enemies whenever they appear. It's like,
developers know
what happened to that, man?
But they
Like,
can't
we
shove
have
it
like
down your throat.
enemies,
So what they instead
specific
do is
types of
bundle it with
enemies
things they
who have
really
their own
like,
specific
so they
soundtrack.
can, to simplify,
We don't get that
butter
anymore.
you up. Marvel's Spider-Man starts out with the
I
classic
mean, that's
suit,
pretty much what they're
taking on
mostly focused
Kingpin,
on, yeah,
a very
but
safe opening before giving you a new bold suit and a character many weren't familiar with, Mr.
I mean,
Negative. The newer Assassin's Creed
the licensed music is really fucking annoying
always stating
already.
that they're going back to the series' roots, and typically that just means the new thing with some old school iconography. So why would Square Enix continue pushing Lara in this direction when so many fans have a distaste for it? Well, I think it's because the old school fans aren't where the money is. In spite of the cultural significance of the older Tomb Raider games, the Survivor trilogy has absolutely crushed the old games in terms of
that's
sales.
from Lego Movie. That's not that's a Lego Movie. That's not even. I mean, it's licensed, but it's like not the generic.
Reliable statistic.
I said
Does
Lego.
that mean this new direction is objectively better than the old games? Not a chance. But it does mean that this new trilogy is more profitable. Truly, and I'm sure I'm in the minority on this, I think the series would have been far more enjoyable if they just stopped trying to please both sides. Either dive straight into the new Lara and have the guts to weather the storm, or concede and abandon this new, more grounded Lara. I can't say which one will be better, it's too deep into hypotheticals, but what is clear is that this push and pull between old and new is why I believe this game was the worst in the series, and why it broke Lara as a character. She's presented as a psychopath, and yet the game insists she is just. She is finally confronted about her actions by Jonah, and the game is so quick to push past it that it almost feels obligatory, as if someone on the team said, wait, do you think Lara might be just as bad as Trinity? And the suits went, oh yeah, shit, I guess. I'll just throw a line in there about it and we'll lampshade the dissonance. Couple this with a change in developers and we have an even greater insecurity that undermines the game's strengths. I feel as though I've been too negative thus far, and it's true, this game has a fair share of issues, but I don't think it's bad. In fact, I thoroughly enjoyed my time with Shadow of the Tomb Raider, despite any concerns with the Paititi pacing. The brief moment after Lara believes Jonah is killed might be my favorite moment in the entire series. It's really that good. Graphically, I was blown away all the time by the environments. Sure, the games all look good, but many parts of this game are downright idyllic, and I think for a game where the main theme is harsh survival, it means a lot to finally breathe in the safety. It also strengthens the theme that we, like Lara, are tourists, for as much as she insists that she's an archaeologist. It's hard to feel like a tourist in an oppressive place when wolves are around every corner, but when we approach a vista and see the sun bathing a sea of trees, it's nice. It seems that later this year we will be getting a brand new Tomb Raider, and it further seems like it's going to be part of its own timeline. So I guess the Survivor timeline is over. All things considered, I really like these games. I'm glad I often see praise for it on Twitter and other social medias, because I really feel like these games can get a little too much criticism. Considering what they were going for, I'd say they did fantastic, and when it came to Shadow, I think Eidos Montreal just needed to be a bit more confident in their ideas, and if they had, they would have stuck the finale a bit harder. Unfortunately though, it means the lasting legacy of the Survivor trilogy is a series of games starring an inconsistent character, one pulled apart at the seams. One game she's saying she hates tombs, and in another she is pretending to enter tombs as a child, acting as though tomb raiding is the ultimate fantasy. One moment Lara is an innocent woman forced to survive against all odds, and the next she is activated like an MK Ultra sleeper agent and slaughters a whole army of trained men. One game we have constant combat and survival mechanics, and the next we've put those ideas on the back burner in the name of keeping to the series' roots. All I can ask is that wherever the next Tomb Raider goes, it sticks to its dual-wielded guns.
Got to take on Mario? Well, that's where Crash Bandicoot came in. And while he was never the official mascot, he definitely made a mark. Since the first Crash Bandicoot game was released, 30 years ago if you can believe, he's been all over magazine covers and commercials. Before the Geico Gecko, or the Caveman for that matter, there was a guy in a Crash Bandicoot costume heckling Nintendo outside their corporate offices with a megaphone.
Mustache Man, your worst nightmare has arrived. Pack up your stuff!
What an asshole. Sony and the team from Naughty Dog worked together on the design of the character, and the mission was the same as Sonic, Gex, Bubsy, and all the rest. Beat Mario with an edgy character. I mean, Mario didn't have a floating witch doctor head guiding him around. And the past 30 years, there's been a shitload of these games. Trying to figure out which ones are good and which ones suck is going to be like walking blindfolded and barefoot through a room splattered with alternating piles of jello and dog shit.
Since I've never dove into Crash Bandicoot games before, I'm going to need some guidance from somebody who's experienced in this topic. But first, a word from this video's sponsor.
Remember the good old days when you wanted to watch a movie? You just grabbed it right off the shelf, like so. Grab it off the shelf. Well, today almost everything goes straight to streaming, and while I appreciate the convenience of it all, sometimes the movies you want to watch are nowhere to be found. At least at the video store, you can get the tape ordered.
Oh, wait a minute, what was that called again?
To make up for that, I've been using ExpressVPN for years, and I haven't missed a movie since. Streaming apps love to hide content based on your geolocation. Sinners wasn't available on Netflix in the US, so I activated ExpressVPN and switched my location to Australia, and within seconds the movie popped up to watch. Or how about X, the throwback to 70s slashers starring Mia Goth, only streaming in Canada? At least that's what they'd like you to believe. And with 105 countries to choose your location from, along with 24/7 customer service and consistently faster speeds than any other VPN provider, ExpressVPN is the perfect choice for anyone who loves movies. ExpressVPN has been my skeleton key to unlock hard-to-find streaming movies for years, and it hasn't let me down yet. Find out how you can get up to 4 extra months by clicking the link in the description below, scanning the QR code on screen, or by going to expressvpn.com/cinemassacre.
All right, we're back. Time to start the review. Now,
sponsor? Money? That's something that I like. Who's the sponsor?
You're a little late.
Okay, cool. I'm out.
Yeah,
as you can see, it's trying to be cutting edge with its 3D visuals, and for the most part, it plays pretty well. Your main method of attack is spinning, so I guess because a bandicoot is an animal that's native to Australia, they're probably thinking it's like those Tasmanian devils.
I'm super hungry, but not just grab the normal Doritos and then just have the hot sauce.
You ever see the animals spinning around? Kangaroos and koala bears are always spinning. No, I guess they just saw the Tasmanian devil cartoons and copied that. Marsupial see, marsupial do.
How is that strange?
I've ever said.
Like the most normal Mexican thing we do here.
Crash Bandicoot 2 spin. So, are the penguins Australian now?
Maybe nice.
Hey, Australian guy.
Yes?
You're Australian, right?
Yes, I am.
Let me ask you, do the animals in Australia spin?
Yes.
Do the toilets spin the wrong way?
I don't know. I don't usually make a habit of watching it leave after I'm done.
I've seen dogs spin around before they sit down, so if any character should spin, it should be Beethoven on Super Nintendo. That game would be vastly improved if Beethoven could spin. Most of this game is alright, but it sucks whenever you have to run toward the camera, like this boulder scene right out of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Cool idea, but you can't see what you're running into and have no time to react.
Be in your underwear, man. Why you have pants?
Ah!
Like, you're literally just absorbing much more sweat on your legs.
At least Indy could see what was in front of him. Imagine how differently that scene would play if he was blindly
because you're saying you're
in some areas
it's hot, so therefore you're sweaty.
Maybe this was Sony's response to
you absorb more sweat on your legs.
Country. Or even Yoshi,
yeah, on your legs. Oh wait, no, wait, I worded it wrong. You're absorbing more sweat on your pants. Like, there we go.
I'm gonna ride that fucking hog. What's his deal? By the way, jumping sucks. You have to be so precise that most of the time you're going to be watching your shadow instead of the actual character. If I wanted to watch a little black circle move across the screen all day, I'd watch a hockey game. Oh, and this bridge stage really fucking sucks. I mean, every misstep causes Crash to fall to his doom. Fuck! But now, let's get to the real shit. The save system. And by that, I mean there is no system. Take a guess how to save. Take a wild guess. Would you just bring up the menu and hit save? No, that would be too easy. Do you have to find a save point? No, too cliche. Does it auto-save after you complete the level? No, don't be ridiculous.
Of course not, don't be ridiculous.
But thankfully, there are multiple ways you can save in this game. Here they are. A, collect 3 symbols which activate a bonus area, and if you complete that bonus area without dying, it'll save. B, go back and refight a boss in which you might die anyway. And C, get full completion on a level without dying once and find every single hidden item. The problem with option C is that certain boxes don't show up until you've found these colored gems. It's kind of like Super Mario World, you know, with the colored switches that make certain blocks appear. But even worse, these gems don't start showing up until stage 10. I mean, just to find them, you'd have to shell out 20 extra bucks on a strategy guide. Now that's a real shitty thing to have to do. In short, it's probably the worst save system I've ever seen. Even worse than Gex. I'm not saying it has to save every single step you take. I mean, setting you back a little is fine and dandy. But this miserable fuck heap takes it to the absolute extreme. One time I was on stage 12 and I got sent all the way back to stage 6. Oh, fuck. That's worse than Ninja Gaiden. You can't even re-enter a stage to farm extra lives because they disappear from the crates once you get them. So your only other options are A, kill 100 bats, which takes forever. B, pull off a precisely timed spin jump onto a turtle, which is more likely to kill you. And C, go fuck yourself. Overall, this isn't the worst game I've ever played, by any stretch. The graphics are nice, and the majority of the levels are fun to play, but no proper save? Come on. And by the way, the name of the witch doctor head following you around is Aku Aku, And since he's a main character throughout the series, I guess I'm gonna have to get used to that guy. Man, if only I had a floating head to help guide me through these games.
Hello, I'm Wanku Wanku, the mascot of the British Museum. Do you want to see some stolen Egyptian hair?
What's the C stand for?
That is none of your goddamn business.
Okay. Alright, look, I could use some help. Which Crash game should I play next? Should I just do 2?
Crash 2 is classic shit. Great movement, great music, and the greatest final boss fight of all time. But I don't know what you're looking for. Don't put this pressure on me. What if I'm wrong and you shout at me? I'm very sensitive.
Okay, should I skip the 3?
That's my favorite one. It's actually the first video game I ever played. I'm younger than you. So give that one a go. You might like it. Or you won't. Whatever. I don't care.
Well, unless they're bad, I think I'm gonna move on. How's Crash Team Racing?
Have you played Mario Kart?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's the same idea. You put a load of abused animals in cars and send them around a track without any driving licenses, like the circus. But unlike earlier Mario Kart, it's way more aggressive and chaotic, and it had the jump drifting and triple turbo boost system, which takes it from a rip-off to a rip-on. It's got a story mode with shit to collect, it's got missiles, it's got eyebrows. Basically, it's great, so I don't think you'll want to play it. Why not? What do you want? Who are you?
Okay. Well, on that note, I'm gonna play Crash Bash. Is that a fine choice?
A fine choice for something good or something shit? Are you looking for something bad? Oh my god, put it in, play it, now, go, do it.
You win.
You bitch.
So, Crash Bash continues to rip off Nintendo. This time it's a clone of Mario Party. It's basically a bunch of mini-games featuring an all-star lineup of Crash characters, but wait, who's Rilla Roo? I don't remember a gorilla, kangaroo, mutant hybrid wearing pants in any of the other games.
Alright, so I get the idea. It's a bunch of shitty mini-games. What's next?
Well, that was the first game not developed by Naughty Dog. They moved on to greener pastures.
And I moved on to greener beers. Cheers. Ah! What the fuck?
I don't like beer.
Then have some tea.
Oh, what? Because I'm British?
You want it or not?
Yes.
Ah!
I don't like tea.
Okay, what game are we playing? How about Wrath of Cortex?
If you want.
Some guide you are.
Okay, Wrath of Cortex on PS2. So the main villain, Dr. Neo Cortex, has made a clone of Crash named Crunch the Super Bandicoot. You know he's tough because he has a metal arm, is triple Crash's size, and has the word super in his name. Thanks to these elemental masks he wears, he just sort of becomes generic bosses like the Water Boss, Fire Boss, and Wind Boss. That's it. The Water Boss has you memorizing patterns, jump over this, duck under that, but if you mess up even once, then you die and have to redo the entire fight. The Fire Boss, same shit, but he's got the added bonus of shitting out tiny lava rocks that roll into you, and each of those can kill you in one hit. Unless by some miracle you avoid all these obstacles, these boss fights require you to play over and over again just to learn the patterns. They aren't even that complicated. It's just that everything kills Crash in one hit, so one fuck-up means the end of a run. Okay, so other than the boss battles, it's a pretty generic Crash game that sticks to the basic formula for the most part. Well, I guess you can say these games have become somewhat of a cash grab.
Hi. Guess who I am? I'm Cash Bandy Loot.
Oh, that's clever. I guess I'm gonna play Crash Twin Sanity.
Throw us a quid, mate.
Okay, Crash Twin Sanity. Oh boy. This is just like those Ren and Stimpy and Beavis and Butthead games where you beat your opponents to death with your friend. Yeah, just like how Stimpy uses Ren to bludgeon enemies to death, Crash uses Dr. Cortex to do the same damn thing. Wait, Crash and his mortal enemy, the evil scientist that created him, mind you, are friends now?
Trust me, we're pals, right?
Crash does use Cortex as a hammer and a surfboard and can throw him over gaps to hit switches, so I guess it's an abusive relationship at best.
Ah! Not the bears!
Well, at least Cortex can dish out some damage of his own to Crash. By spanking him? Huh? Well, I need some real shit to sink my teeth into. So how about Crash the Titans? Get it? Crash the Titans?
Boo bee. Boo. Boo 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 boo. Boo.
Gotta break out the Wii. You know, the Wii turns 20 this year. Isn't that crazy? The Wii is almost old enough to drink.
Boo beep beep boo. Boo boo bee boo. Boo bee boo boo. Boo bee. Boo bee.
Wait, you're saying the Wii is already old enough to drink? Ah, fuck! Oh, now I gotta find some batteries for the Wiimote. Good thing I have Die Hard batteries. Yippee double A, motherfucker! Crash of the Titans is one of those sequels that only gets made because some fucker owns an IP and doesn't want to lose the rights. I mean, I can't think of any other reason why this game had
so
to be
true.
Crash Bandicoot themed. It barely feels like a Crash game. Sure, you can play as the titular character, but you wouldn't even recognize the other characters because they're all redesigned. I mean, look what they did with Tiny Tiger. That hovering almond dripped in shit is actually supposed to be Aku Aku. I mean, did they keep anything from the original design? Besides the feathers? Not to mention, Crash is speaking in complete gibberish. He's made the full transformation into the Tasmanian Devil. But actually, no. He doesn't have the spin attack anymore. Well, he does acquire the spin later, but that would be like if Mario couldn't jump until he got the jump ability. Or if you're playing a Castlevania game with no whip. Oh, wait, that actually happened. And it worked somehow. Either way, turning a character's signature move into something you have to unlock is straight up sacrilegious. What were they thinking? You unlock new abilities by collecting blue gems called Mojo. So, by having to power up Crash's abilities, we can all assume that at some point, Crash lost his mojo.
Crikey! I've lost my mojo!
Instead of focusing on challenging platforming like the previous games, Crash the Titans decide to go all in on never-ending button-mashing battles against wave after wave of enemies. And look, I get trying something different every once in a while, so that doesn't get stale. But when 2 out of the last 3 games in the series were spin-off kart racers with middling reviews, you'd think they'd make sure to go back to basics, right? No, we had to wait 13 years for that. The game's big gimmick is that Crash can mount the larger monsters and use them as his bitch in combat. But that sounds so fucking wrong, doesn't it? But get this, they call it jacking. Jacking! I'm not making this up. You jack the monster. The fuck is that supposed to mean? Is it like hijacking a car? I mean, okay, I sorta get it. But you'd think they'd call it something better than jacking. That's such low-hanging fruit. I don't even know what to do with it. You're pretty much forced to do this every single battle. It's easier said than done. You have to stun the monsters by making their star meters go up. Seems simple, but half the time they block your attack, and they keep recovering stars. And then they kick your ass. Most of my attacks don't do diddly dick against these guys, so you have to charge your attack by holding the button, but 9 times out of 10 that leaves you open to get hit. These enemies are not just gonna stand there and let you charge up. No fucking way. They just rip Crash a new asshole. Fuck! When you finally do manage to jack one of these motherfuckers, it can feel like the ultimate power trip. Now you're the one in control. You gain access to all the monster's abilities and do things like this. And this. Oh, and how about this? It's admittedly a lot of fun. At first. Who wouldn't like riding a giant elephant that can not only destroy every obstacle in your way, but can also blow fire out its trunk? Or look at this giant skunk dude. He's literally throwing his farts. Throwing his farts. Gotta love that. But once you've jacked your 90th palette-swapped werewolf, the idea of jacking another creature loses a lot of its appeal. It also just sounds plain rude. What's this? I'm in a bathroom? There's a monster in the stall? I mean, should I even fight him or just leave him alone and let him do his business? Would this be a time for jacking? Since it's the Wii version, of course they had to make some of Crash's moves require motion controls, like this spinning propeller move that allows you to hover over wide gaps. To spin, they want you to shake the Wiimote. Yeah, shake that Wii! Or you can just hit A. So there's no fucking point to using the Wiimote. I mean, you want to play with your Wii? Be my guest. Yeah, so the motion controls are optional. What's the deal with the nunchuck anyway? How about just have a regular controller? Only Nintendo could get away with this shit. Is there a motion control for the jacking? You can only imagine. But no, just use the button commands. However, once you've jacked a monster, their abilities almost exclusively require motion controls. So now they're required, and if you don't use them, you instantly get your ass kicked. You can even use the Wiimote to collect mojo just by pointing at it. Super Mario Galaxy did the same thing later that year, so I have to wonder, who had the idea first? Now, sucking up all the mojo makes it super easy to get any of them that are out of reach. I mean, with just one flick of your wrist, you can get them all. It's so easy now, it pretty much breaks the game. Yeah, now I'm playing with power. Wiimote mojo power. You know, you want to make it even easier? Keep jacking monsters and sucking up mojo. You'll be learning abilities in no time. You're also going to get major carpal tunnel syndrome. Basically, you can really cheat the system in this game. And I'm not even talking about grinding. You can do that too, but now you feel like the kid at the bowling party who just runs up the lane and smashes all the pins down. So there's a kick move called the Norris Roundhouse. Now, of course, it's a reference to the late Chuck Norris. Rest in peace. But let's talk about that spin move again. Now, for the most part, I found it pretty useless. You gotta spin the stick on the nunchuck repeatedly while tapping the C button, and then if you do it for too long, you get dizzy and can't move for a few seconds. I mean, what the hell? But once you've leveled up enough, you can spin indefinitely. So now, all of a sudden, it's the best move in the game. Well, that is until you realize the bigger monsters still block the spin. And since you have to keep rotating the stick till your thumb goes raw, I'd say forget about it. It's ass. Alright, one more game. This one's gonna be on Game Boy Advance. Purple Ripto's Rampage. Yeah, and this one is, apparently it's a crossover with Spyro the Dragon. It's a sad state of affairs when both franchises can take a crossfire shit into the same toilet.
Huh, yeah. Crossovers really suck, don't they?
You know, I've had it up to my ass with this shit. Crash Bandicoot's Purple Ripto's Rampage on Game Boy Advance. When will this end? What crocodile's ass did these games crawl out of? Okay, well you have the spin attack already. Well, maybe this game will be alright. Or not. After a pretty lackluster platforming section, you're riding a polar bear, which is just a 2D version of a stage from Crash 2. Okay, now I'm blowing up sheep with a bazooka? I'm not sure what this has to do with Crash Bandicoot, but sure, why not? Eat this! Ba ba black sheep, have you any rocket to the face? Okay, maybe this is awesome. Wait, I jinxed it again. You heard of tank controls? Well, here's tank controls. In a tank! These controls suck fucking monkey fuck. And besides, it has nothing to do with Crash Bandicoot. I'm sorry. I already complained so much, I take it all back. This is the real bullshit. Oh my god, it's getting worse. Now I'm in a Christmas ball with robotic legs, but I'm controlling a helicopter? Why not just have the helicopter? Do I have to control Crash, controlling a robot, controlling a helicopter? Do you think that's a little excessive? What's this shitload of fuck? I'm riding a lazy river? Except there's nothing lazy about it other than the lazy game design. And when our star heroes finally meet, do they embrace in a hug? No. They start throwing Molotov cocktails at each other. Yeah, that'll get the job done. Also, this game's rated E for everyone. Hey kids, ever heard of Molotov cocktails? Well, you have now. You're welcome. Oh, and now it's just Arkanoid, basically? They just repackaged old shit. They fucking shat into a sack of shit. And then it sat until it got nasty as ass. And then they stuffed that fuck into another sack of shit and sat it on top of a putrid pile of piss packages. Diuretic rivulets running off the tip of the turberg. They stacked another sack of ass on top of the already shitty shit pile of shit sacks. And next thing you know, you got a steaming pile of shit sacks stacked up. And I didn't even know they stacked shit that high. Fuck this game.
Is the review done?
Yeah, it's done.
Okay, bye.
Wait. You're just gonna go like that? Huh. Well, that's an abrupt way to end.
Goodbye, Carrie Poppins. Don't stay away too long.
A layup. While I showed heavy skepticism in my impressions of the game about a month ago, I maintained a cautious optimism. So how is it? Well, it's definitely a layup, but there are some things preventing it from being a slam dunk. Before we get further, I want to mention that this will be a spoiler-free review. All of my footage is from the first few sequences, and even with the story being mostly unchanged, I'll refrain from plot spoilers. Also, please note that this review was made possible by Ubisoft giving me a review code about a week before launch. Okay, let's get into it. Ultimately, when it comes to remakes, the game itself is going to be compared to the original, and the question is, of course, is the remake better? Is it good enough for people who played the original to jump back in? And finally, is it good enough for people who have never played either? The answer to all of those is yes. Black Flag Resynced is a good enough remake of a good game, and changes enough things to make it worth replaying again, even if some of the changes it brings comes with significant downsides. My review, however, is going to focus on the things that changed, so don't expect much talk about the story or the naval combat because those things are generally unchanged. I will say, however, that the things that are unchanged likely were left alone because they were already very good. And in the same breath, I will say that if you have not experienced Black Flag before and you don't care about playing the original, then I do highly recommend this game. The first thing I want to cover is the performance. In my video discussing the preview I played, I was very concerned about the game's frame rate, and while I was confident the issues would have been fixed, I just want to confirm that the game ran great for me. I'll have some stats on screen as well as the benchmarks, and while I wasn't able to max out the game, getting 90 FPS was easily doable on high if I had DLSS set to quality. When DLSS was off, I was hitting closer to 50 FPS on high at 4K. Sure, performance could have been better, but for me, I was more than satisfied with it. I considered it pretty similar to my performance with 007 First Light. Much more satisfying was that the frame rate was consistent. I never ran into any issues where intense naval battles caused slowdowns, and honestly, I think that matters much more than simply being able to achieve 90 FPS in some scenes. The game does support frame generation, but I chose to keep it off because I don't always love the look of it. I keep DLSS on in quality mode because from my perspective on a 27-inch monitor, I can hardly tell the difference. I can't comment on the console performance because I was playing on PC, but honestly, the last few Assassin's Creed titles have run well on there, and I expect Black Flag Resynced to be no different. Also, another minor thing I want to praise is that despite the game looking fantastic, it only takes up 60 gigabytes, which given the modern COD titles can take up 3 times that, I'm very happy I don't need a separate hard drive for this game. Speaking of those fantastic visuals, they continue to look great here. I noticed in the comments that some people didn't like how bright the game is, and while I totally understand that, personally, I love the brighter colors, and it just helps the world pop so much more. And if you prefer the night, then almost immediately you have the ability to advance time, and the nighttime is considerably dark, likely due to this game running on the same engine as Assassin's Creed Shadows, which, as the name implies, was a much darker game. I played everything before the official Day 1 patch, but even then I ran into pretty minimal bugs, and most of it was just janky animations when boarding a ship, which, if you played the original Black Flag on PC, will be abundantly familiar to you. I specifically want to praise the animation work here because, as I'm sure many have stated, the Assassin's Creed games can be separated into eras, and every character moves like the rest of the protagonists in said era. This was fine in the Ezio saga because the older Ezio moving like a younger Ezio made sense. But when the Welsh Edward Kenway moves so similarly to the indigenous Connor Kenway, it leaves both characters without much identity. This time around, Edward has a whole new suite of animations, and I've tried for a few days now to pinpoint why, but there's just something about the way he moves, runs, jumps that communicates a swashbuckling lifestyle. Combat animations mostly bring back the fan-favorite takedowns, but even the new ones feel fresh while not feeling entirely new. They blend in really well. The way Ubisoft Singapore animated all of Edward's moves and gameplay were exceptional, and it's part of what makes the game feel, in this particular game, the best I've felt in a long time with this series. It wasn't something that needed modernizing per se, but I'm very grateful to see new animations here. While we're on that topic, however, let's talk about some other parts of the game that were modernized, and honestly, modernizing the game was a big part of why I was so skeptical. The Ubisoft that made the original Black Flag, in my opinion, isn't there anymore. Sure, some veterans might still be working on the series, but the spirit is gone. Because of that, when I heard that Ubisoft was remaking Black Flag, my initial thought was, do we really want modern Ubisoft taking a second go at one of their most beloved games? In retrospect, the answer is yes, because it resulted in a good game, but how exactly is the game modernized? Well, for starters, we have some revamped missions. Tailing missions were in abundance originally, and were a sore spot for critics, so now, if you're spotted while tailing an enemy, you can instead kill them and take a letter off their body, which allows you to essentially skip the tailing part. I think this is a great addition, and when Ubisoft consistently said that this was a faithful remake, this had me convinced that they were serious, but then we get to the combat. If this game is a faithful remake, then why is the combat completely changed? When Ubisoft fundamentally changes a system like this in a faithful remake, they are saying that this new system is better, and that's a ballsy claim. Thankfully, it is much better, or at least much deeper. I love the combat of the original game, but I won't pretend like it exactly challenged me at any point. This new combat system, however, keeps the fundamental
first, the
killing,
fact
but
that
just
you were
gives it more
sucking
depth.
on it makes you even
We
more
have enemies
weird.
that can't be
Like, you
chain
should have been
killed, they're
grossed
snap
out by
counter-killed.
like as
We
soon
have
as your
abilities
taste
that
buds
allow
touch
us
the
to break
soap,
stagger
you should have
bars,
been grossed
resulting
out
in a takedown,
by
and some new
sucking on
features and
it.
combos that can be
Why would you
chained
suck on
together
soap?
to make for some seriously flashy moments? I'll say it, this is the best combat we've had in an Assassin's Creed game in over a decade.
And you call me weird.
Clears the original game.
Fuck you.
It takes some getting used
Fuck
to,
you,
and I think the game
you're
could
so mean.
encourage you to experiment with your abilities more, because that's where the fun really is. But man, once I figured this system out, I was having so much fun. It got to the point that I actively skipped stealth sometimes because I enjoyed combat that much. Ubisoft, if you are listening, as far as I'm concerned, this is where combat should be moving forward. But do you remember how I said that there were a few things stopping Resynced from being a great remake? Well, in the original game, you had 3 choices for weapons: swords, the hidden blade, and fists. But it got better because you could use enemies' weapons too, which opened the door to things like muskets and axes. In the remake, you are limited to just the swords. Technically, there is fist fighting, but only during select moments. You cannot pick up enemy weapons, you cannot use a hidden blade for combat, and I don't mean to be rude, but what the fuck happened?
Oh, we were right there, man!
Some devs have alluded to adding fist combat in a post-launch update, but I'm so confused as to why it wasn't here from the start. Not only is this meant to be a, in their words, faithful remake, but even if you are going to change the combat, at least keep the variety. It would make it a home run. Even if we can't use other weapons, I feel like hidden blade combat and fisticuffs is the bare minimum for something like this. The hell, we have animations for fist fighting already, and maybe I'm ignorant to game design, but can we not just flip a switch to allow for fist fighting all the time? This to me is a hallmark of modern Ubisoft. Ubisoft loves making something that is so close to great, and then stopping just before the finish line. Star Wars Outlaws had a great open world, but for some reason you couldn't, as a quote-unquote outlaw, steal other people's vehicles. You can only shoot and drive while using the bullet time ability, and now we see a similar situation here. It's such an obvious thing that to not do it feels insane. We also get modern Ubisoft in the store too. Look, I'll admit the original Black Flag had purchasable time savers, as they call them, but having these fuck-ass outfits for such a high price on launch is just so greedy. In fairness, the original alternate outfits from the game return, and my favorite one, the pirate cloak, looks fantastic, but guys, what are we doing? But okay, I get it, modern Ubisoft isn't all that bad. I mean, look at Shadows, that game had some pretty good stealth, and thankfully, that stealth quality carries over. While social stealth is back and that's great, I want to focus on things like enemy awareness and other new things that Shadows introduced, which carry over here. Enemies look up frequently. If you are sprinting towards them, they'll turn around pretty quickly. Enemies are more likely to investigate an area, and while returning to a neutral state is rather quick, sometimes they'll check it out with a buddy, which makes it a bit more complicated. This makes stealth a far more active process compared to previous games, and certain side quests like the plantations put that on full display. An earlier introduction to the rope dart is also fantastic, and the game introduces a few quests where you engage with stealth with another character, and these work well to spice things up. I won't focus on this too much because honestly, aside from a dedicated crouch button, things aren't that different here, but that's a good thing because the base system was great. However, once again, to suck off the animation team, I love how snappy the bush takedown looks. It's so satisfying. Okay, I've danced around it enough, and the reason is that I think I'm going to be in the minority here, but I honestly don't think the parkour is as good as the original. Is it better than Shadows? Not really, honestly, but there are better designed cities to take advantage of it, and that isn't exactly something worth praising modern Ubisoft for because they weren't the ones who made it. I go into this more in my Assassin's Creed Shadows video that I hope will be out at some point, but essentially the parkour, while having side and back ejects and even wall run cancels, fails to properly understand player intentions, leading to a lot of fighting with the controls and frustration because the power fantasy is interrupted so abruptly. There would be countless times where I'd be scaling the mast of a ship, and instead of continuing to ascend past the horizontal poles, Edward would instead strafe to the side, actively running down to grab onto said horizontal pole. I can't understand why the game would do this, especially if I'm holding the stick straight up. Edward was climbing straight before. If my stick was to the right, then he would be shimmying instead of ascending. I can't pretend like this is the end of the world, but it's a bit too much friction for me to subscribe the idea that we're back in the golden ages of parkour. Aside from these moments, which were in abundance, I think the movement is pretty good, but I doubt it'll be much more than a one-off. Ubisoft for years now have clearly shown the capacity for these mechanics, but always leave them for the annual post-launch update to reinvigorate sales. The thing that really hit this idea home for me, however, came from one of the all-new quest lines, which, while I won't spoil, I do want to show this one specific clip, and I'll play it in its entirety because I think it is that baffling.
I hear you're a climber.
What are you getting at?
A small wager. A race to the villa.
So long as you're not adverse to being embarrassed. Hey! You're faster than you look!
Oh, keep your sideways insults! You're slower than you look! You're going to lose this one!
Oh!
All right. You won.
You weren't so bad.
What?
Modern Ubisoft might be the only fucking company to have a character acknowledge your climbing abilities and then challenge you to a race with absolutely no climbing. This is why, while I agree the movement is good here, it's only good because it's imitating something from a decade ago. When Ubisoft needs to cook up something new, the best they can muster is asking the player to hold the left stick forward. It's a sad, stark reminder that the only reason the remake is good is because the blueprint is good. Speaking of good blueprints, naval combat is unchanged. It's still fantastic, it's easy to get lost in the grind of upgrading your ship, and when it comes to things I didn't want changed, this was at the top of the list. It works well. In fact, I think the updated UI made it easier for me to keep track of what side of the ship I was controlling, and I honestly can't praise it enough. I won't bother discussing it much more than that because I think everyone and their mother has praised the naval combat in the original. Everyone liked it, and since it's relatively unchanged, I think everyone's going to like it all over again. I really appreciate a remake that doesn't feel the need to reinvent every wheel just because they can. To go back to the negative side of modern Ubisoft, we can look at the story, but I want to focus on the cutscenes and the writing because it allows me to put forward my criticisms without spoiling anything. For starters, the cutscene issues, specifically with how stiff the new ones are, have not been changed, and they still present a constant tonal clash. Some new cutscenes have been worked in to flesh out the story, and while the writing in these cases isn't too bad, the cutscene animations are not based on motion captured data, so it looks incredibly sloppy compared to the rest of the game, and Edward is still striking the same hands-on hip poses that Cassandra was doing nearly a decade ago. The new quests that we get just fall flat too, both in writing and level design, but the biggest gripe I have is simply that Edward has this stupid grin the whole time as a neutral expression. It looks strange given that Edward has been through a lot and given his desire to get back to his family. He shouldn't be smiling like he just got off a Ferris wheel. Since this video has been full of negativity, I'll mention that I honestly didn't mind the modern day side of the game being skipped. I think on principle it should be here since this is a quote-unquote faithful remake, but I did always think the modern day after the Desmond era was the textbook definition of just spinning your wheels. Because of these issues with cutscenes and the shoddy writing in some of them, I'd actually argue that the additional cutscenes can take away from the story. I know the immediate response to this is that how can it bring the story down? More is better. And it's not like they replace the story, but let me explain it a little bit like this. Let's say one day I cook you a nice steak and you love it. You ask me to cook you another steak a week later, and I do. In fact, I even add some garnish on top. But I slide a little piece of poo next to the steak. It isn't touching the steak, but it's on the same plate. You don't have to eat it, but even when trying to ignore it, the presence will be felt. You smell the pungent stink. You might even find that the sight of it alone is enough to sour your appetite. Now, if I ask you which steak you prefer, many would likely prefer the one without the extra garnish because even if the steak itself isn't as good, at least there isn't a little poopy bringing it down. Perhaps not the most accurate comparison because, to be honest, the new cutscenes aren't that bad, but I think you get the point. So ultimately, do I recommend Black Flag Resynced? Should you buy it? Yeah, I think you should. It's overall a great game. I had a lot of fun, and there are enough changes to said game that result in a better experience that while I wouldn't recommend it wholeheartedly over the original, especially when the original is still relatively inexpensive, I think even for people who love the original, there's enough here to warrant a trip down memory lane. Since I know some people didn't like Black Flag when it first launched, I'll be honest, I don't think this game does enough to change your mind. As far as I'm concerned though, this is a win for Ubisoft, and a sorely needed one too. While I don't think this is the saving grace the series needed, I think given that the last few games have all excelled at something, Mirage excelling in city design, Shadows in stealth, and now Resynced with combat, if Ubisoft Singapore, Bordeaux, and Montreal came together, they could have an exceptionally good game on their hands. They just have to figure out the story part. A final note before this video ends though, please, even if this review convinced you wholeheartedly to buy the game, I recommend you watch other reviews. I truly believe there is no downside to being as informed as possible about your purchase. If you have any questions that I didn't answer here, then feel free to mention them and I will answer them to the best of my ability down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. And if you're going to buy this game, then I truly hope you enjoy it. Take care. A newer studio that really has only developed this game and a different MMO game that's coming up. Although, after this release, I wonder if the funding might be changed a little bit. And a lot of people were excited for this game, okay? When the trailers first launched, people were interested. And now that it's released, a lot of people are very disappointed. And the reason isn't even that the gameplay is bad or that the story is bad per se, but a lot of it is the performance. And to find out for myself if it really was that bad, I decided to buy it and give it a go. And oh man, it's not good. I should know I'm playing this on a 5070 Ti 7800X 3D processor. It's on an NVMe. I have 64 gigs of RAM. As far as I'm concerned, I have all the specs necessary to run this game. The game did notify me that I should be playing on epic settings, which is just everything maxed out. But I found that that didn't run that well, so I put it on medium to try and reach a happy balance. But even then, I had to put it down to low with DLSS on performance mode. And even still, I had so many glitches, performance drops, everything, the works. Now, while a lot of people were disappointed, a lot of people also saw this coming. The last time we saw a bunch of studio executives leave a week before launch was with Suicide Squad. And if you remember how that turned out, God, I'm so sorry. And if you don't remember, live in bliss. Don't learn about it. Just keep living life and being happy. The worst part is that the game doesn't even look that bad. I mean, character models look pretty decent and a lot of the environmental design is solid. However, okay, I'm kind of lying because in order to get this game to run decently, you have to have DLSS on, and the DLSS looks like shit. And then here's another issue, VSync kept getting turned off.
If VSync isn't on, I'm gonna lose my shit.
And this is where a lot of the problem leads, right? You have an issue, and in order to try and solve that issue, I have to go into the menu, right? I gotta turn VSync back on. When you go into the menu and you scroll down a little bit,
it judders back up like 3 spots. So it looks like this. It's so bad. And so in order to get to settings, you need to force the game down to VSync, turn it on, only for 15 minutes later, it's gonna get turned off again.
Oh, kill me. Why the fuck would they do this? Oh my... Oh, brother, just let me to the bottom of the fucking menu!
And this is just the VSync. There are still so many visual bugs. I didn't see some of the crazier ones when I played through the game, but there were so many people posting screenshots online that just had Assassin's Creed Unity-esque faces. Like, it's bad, dude. It is a game, so how does the game play? And the answer is, at best, it's just fine, and at worst, it is entirely generic. The shooting is very bare bones. Enemies do feel like they take impact from your bullets. Some of the robots you fight, you can actually shoot off their turrets that are on them in order to disable them. And so there is some depth here, but it really is basic. And I don't like saying it, but the shooting, and actually a lot of this game, very much reminded me of the Saints Row reboot. And I'm sorry for saying that. I feel like that is such an insult, but it really did. Now, I will say when it comes to the driving's actually not bad. I feel like the driving is very similar to Watch Dogs 1, where it's a bit heavier and it's a bit stickier. However, it was fun. I liked going off of different ramps and flipping my car in the air, and I would say it's probably where I had the most fun with the game. The opening itself is very slow. They take a lot of time to sort of set up the story and set up the world, and once the story did get going, I was interested, but it did feel too little too late, if that makes sense, because there's so many moments leading up to where that story finally kicks off that, to me, felt like the game was kind of pissing in my cereal, and I was just already annoyed with it. I definitely tried my best to have fun, but things like weird checkpoint systems, your car randomly blowing up in the middle of a mission for no reason, or things like, for example, when you're driving, you can't shoot at other vehicles. You'll be chasing somebody, they're shooting at you, and you can't shoot back. Why? Are we serious? An open world game in the year of our Lord 2025 and you can't shoot with a vehicle? While we're on the topic of it, you can't steal cars. Why? I can kill civilians in broad daylight all day, but I can't steal a car? That's where you draw the line? I'm sorry, I'm getting pissed off. Let me try and bring it back down, okay? I'm up here, I'm gonna bring it here. As far as an open world goes, there are things to do. There's plenty of races.